Hey all, welcome to the homestead. So I'm kind of bringing you in late to what I'm doing on this project, but as you can see, it involves trench work. I'm working on hooking up Nana's water line to her new house, and also getting her septic hooked up, which, as we showed you already, the septic tank has been put in. I think we showed you that already. Maybe not. The septic tank has been put in. So that happened last week. The tank's right there. We've had them put the drain lines behind the solar panels, and our thinking is on that we're not really going to use that, at least nothing for planting purposes. We we eventually probably want to put the hogs there, rotational. I've got a plan for paddocks, but after that's all settled down and started to grow back over. But I've got the pipe right there going in the tank. The people who manufactured the house actually provided some pipe to help get from the connection, the output connection to the septic, but I need to get a little bit more, and I need to get all of the elbows and unions and all that stuff. So I'm going to be working on that as well. But right now the focus is the water line here, and I was actually started working on this yesterday. The first step was to get access to the existing water line, which I have there. We were going to add a separate meter, a separate service for the line, but where we ended up putting the house on the property and for ease and convenience, I decided to just tap off the existing line, which I worked on. I also got the trench dug, rented a trencher. It's sitting over there. Gonna get some other trenching done today for future projects that we wanted to do. But worked on this yesterday, got it on, had some issues with the valves, got the wrong valves, and I think I may make a short separate video about that, just to help maybe you not make the same mistakes I did. There are lots of different types of pipes, especially the PVC types that are out there, and making sure you know what you're getting for what you're doing is important. Long story short, I got the wrong type valves for these types of pipes, which delayed my project, but unfortunately I'd already cut into the water line. So I had to do some emergency adjustments yesterday and got this on, and we had to wait till about 10:30 at night for it to cure, because it takes 2 hours for this to cure to a point where you can put pressure on it. And ended up with a leak. So that's the long story short, maybe not so short, sorry about that. So what I'm doing today is I've got to actually cut out that valve. That's the valve that's on the line going there. The other valve, that's solid, there's no problem with that. That's actually the valve that's tapping off, that's going to go to Nana's line, which I'll work on once I get this done. But I've got to cut that valve out, not because it's wrong or bad, but because the leak, let me do this without putting a finger on you. The leak is coming from the output of the valve. And unfortunately, it's already got the cement on it and everything, and so I basically just have to sacrifice that valve. So the first thing I'm going to work on doing is actually exposing a little bit more of the pipe. So digging out a little bit more of the pipe to expose, to give myself a little bit more wiggle room, quite literally, and you'll see why that's important when we get there. Get that valve out of there and get this all made up so that the curing time can start, so we can turn the water back onto our house. Because that's another fun thing that we learned last night, is for all that we've been doing, for everything that we've been working on, projects and everything, water supply is one that we really exposed ourselves on last night. Of, we're not in a good spot to pivot. We've got wells that we need to get back in service, so that's a good pivot spot, but we need to get on our rain harvesting, we need to get our wells in commission. We need to be in a better position to pivot should our county provided water ever become unavailable to us. So it was a good eye-opening experience, even if it meant filling up jugs and having water overnight for toilet use and everything. But I'm gonna get at this, and hopefully it'll be something that'll help you all either avoid mistakes or learn from as you're working on your projects, various things. Because a lot of what I'm going to be doing is applicable to many other things, as I like to think other things that we show you are as well. So I'm going to get at that, and here we go. Okay, so now I've got the pipe exposed a little bit more. So what I'm going to do to do this is I'm going to cut here, give or take, because I want to make sure there's enough of this pipe left that I can put the new valve on. And then cut as close to this pipe as possible without getting too much of the old primer. That's what that purple stuff is. If you've never used the PVC cement, that purple stuff is the primer that the glue then goes on. I'm going to be able to clean it up a little bit, but I want to be as close to that as I can, but not so close that I can't put a little stub, because obviously the valve that I have to replace this with is going to be about the same size as this one. If I cut here and here, the valve is going to be further this way when I put it on, because it's going to sink into here a little bit, and there won't be enough here. So I'm going to have to put a little stub here that's going into the new valve and joining with this with a little coupler on it. And let me get those and show you what those look like. Okay, so here's the new valve, and here's what a coupler looks like in case you haven't seen them before. And the coupler, all it is two female ends of the PVC that you can use to join two of them together like that. Okay, so like I was explaining, I've got to take the portion of the pipe that's here running this way, and I've got to cut it close so that I can put it on here, and that's going to leave a gap here. So I'm going to take a spare piece of PVC and go out from here a little bit, enough to put this on this side, and then but close enough that I can then put it together on there. So when it's all said and done, it's going to be kind of like this in its grouping. At least that's the intent.
Nuts. We had Nelk over here before. I mean, you're a Gen Zer. Yeah, like you know the Nelk boys. Do you feel like for young voters that this may be a different election than other elections you've seen prior?
And you look at Joe Biden, you're like, that's not the future. That's not going to help us.
Bongino report, but tomorrow, because I want my Rumble audience to all go and follow that, rumble.com/Bongino report. It's a different.
Okay, so I want to kind of show you here how I'm going to do this. First thing is, when you're working with this primer especially, it will stain whatever it drips on. It's cleaning your fingers. Thankfully you shed and it'll eventually go away, but if you're working on a surface that you want to protect, definitely put something underneath it. The other thing is, these bottles are sometimes difficult to open, especially the first time. They've already been opened for me, so I'm not having that much of a problem, but you might. So the thing that you really want to make sure is when you're dealing with this is you've got a clean surface to work with. Okay, so this is the pipe that I'm going to use in between. So I'm going to make this up. This is going to go in here. This coupler is going to go in there, and then that's going to go in between. I'm going to make up this entire section so that when we get down there, we can put it in. I'll explain that to you when we get to that point. But the first thing you want to do is make sure you've got some relatively smooth, relatively flat, viable ends on each one, because you want this to go inside. I think you can see in here. So there's a seating surface inside there, And that's as far as the pipe as you want actually to go. You want to go as close to that as possible. When you get the primer and the glue on there, and you start to twist it in, it will actually go in. It's not so easy to do when it's dry, and then if you do get it in there, it's a pain to pull apart. So you always want to try and dry fit stuff together for measurements to make sure everything's where you need it to be. Just be cautious with the dry fitting, because if you go in there too much, it can be a wrench to get out depending on what your strength is. So get a Scotch-Brite. That's kind of what I like to use. It just kind of helps to loosen up any particles or anything that may be on the end of each one. Okay, you don't have to be exact. Some plumbers will tell you you got to get every bit of muck off of there, and you know what? They're professionals, so listen to them, do what you want to do. Then just take a simple paper towel, maybe get it wet if you need to. The Scotch-Brite was already a little damp, and just clean it off. That's usually good enough. Don't really worry about the inside of the pipe. When you turn your water on, it'll flush out. Then go to your coupler. If you're buying these new from the store, you shouldn't need to use the Scotch-Brite on them. Just give them a good wipe down on the inside. Make sure there's nothing that has gotten in there. Those are good. And then your valve, same thing. Just give the inside a good little wipe. Make sure anything that might have gotten in there has gotten out. Beautiful. Okay, so now we're ready to start assembling this valve. I like to make sure the valve is going to go on so that we follow the regular conventions of righty, tighty, lefty, loosey, okay? So that will turn the water off to the right. Nice thing is, no matter how you put this valve in, it's going to be oriented that way. So you don't really need to worry about that. It's just something you might want to think about. There are some valves, like ball valves, that have the handle only going one way, and so turning it, just something to think about. Doing the primer, stuff is very, very thin. I like to try and do it over the bottle as much as possible. You're going to take your valve body, you're going to go on the inside with it. Just give it a little good. Let any excess drip off as you can, okay? And don't, even though you're going to go all the way up to the seat, don't worry about getting the primer all the way up to the seat, okay? You just want to get it in there for now. Set that down. Take the pipe that you're going to do. You do the same thing, just kind of go around it a couple times. Any excess, let it drip. It doesn't matter if it's even, as long as it's all the way around. And for the most part, all the way as far as it's going to go in. Okay. So that bit's good. We'll do this one section at a time. I'll talk you through this part, and then start putting the next ones together. This is the actual cement, and these come in a pack, okay? These come in a, you can buy them individually, but they come in a pack like this. And they're usually pretty reasonably cheap, and this stuff lasts for a while. You're gonna get way more than you probably need for any individual project. Anyway, you're gonna put the glue in like that. You wanna kind of avoid excess, and like I said, don't worry about getting it all the way up against that seat in there. As you push it together, it's gonna get in there. The big thing is you don't want the cement getting on the ball itself and potentially causing it to have either problems turning or not fully close, and that water by when it's supposed to be shut. So got the glue on together, then you're going to just push them together, but you're going to do it in turning motion, and that helps to spread the glue and everything together. And you're going to hold it together for about 30 seconds is what it tells you to do. And the reason is, if you don't do this step, the glue and everything is actually going to push it out. It's going to push it apart. So 30 seconds lets it really kind of get in there, settle, and say, okay, this is where I'm going to be. It's not firm yet. It takes about 15 minutes for it to get set and firm, but it does stop it from pushing back out. Okay, so now that we've done that, we're going to do the same thing with this end. Okay. I know it hasn't been a full 30 seconds. You'll start to get the hang of it, what you can and can't do, can and can't get away with as you do this more. Just get some of that excess off of there. The other thing is that we're going to be pushing this bit together as well, so we'll be adding more pressure on it. I sometimes, if I know I'm going to be doing a full assembly like this, I like to put them all together and then apply the 30 seconds worth of pressure, just since it saves a little time and that I'm already pushing in that direction anyway. I think you know where I'm going with that. Anyway, you're going to put the glue on there. You're going to put the glue on there. And again, you're just going to push and twist just like that. You only need to do about a quarter turn and hold it together. So I'm going to hold this together for about 30 seconds, give or take, and then we'll jump down to actually putting it in place. Okay, so I'm not sure if you can see me, but this is the important part to see. And this is where I kind of screwed up last night and why we ended up having a leak. When you put the fitting in place, whatever you're doing, once you do that quarter turn and insert it and hold it together for 30 seconds, it's really important to not disturb it after that. The more you wiggle it after that, the more you're weakening that joint and creating little pockets and divots, weak spots in the cement where it's not going to cure and make a good seal. So the other part that I had a problem with was that it was a little short. So when I got it in place, okay, there was a little too much wiggle room because this piece in between was too short and it didn't make a good seat. You can see here, they're gonna go in all the way on each side, or very close to all the way on each side, and make a good seal as long as I can get it in and not have to move it. Now, the trick is, among many tricks, is I've got to get this to sit in between here, and I've got very little wiggle room. Remember I said wiggle room was going to be an important thing. There's not a lot of wiggle room here because I've got a ton of dirt on that end. There's not a lot of wiggle room here because I got a ton of dirt on this end. But I'm hoping, and this is what we're going to find out together here, that I've got enough wiggle room that I can put this piece on first and then manipulate this and this together enough to get this inside. As you can see, I've already got the primer on there, so it's ready to go. I'm gonna get the glue and get that on there. Get that on there. Gonna get it on this end. I'm not sure if I'm still in frame or not, but I'm putting it on the inside just like I did with the other that you saw. Okay, moment of truth. Let's see if I can get this on here correctly. All right, so the first thing we're gonna do is get this piece on. Okay, and this is gonna be fun. All right, now that's in there, good. Now for the wiggle room part. Now, gotta get this up. Now, I'm hoping that is enough, but I'm worried that I might have screwed it up again. We'll see. 2 hours, we'll see. I'm gonna close the valve. That way when we turn the water back on over there, we can test this joint first, then we can turn on and see if this end holds. First, see if this end holds, then we'll see if this end holds. If not, we're gonna have to do this again. I'll have to get a new valve. and figure something else out. Okay. Okay, water is turned back on and there are no leaks. So we got it right this time. You can see I went ahead and added the little turn that's gonna go to Nana's house. And you can see over there, I started gluing up the pipe that's gonna go in the trench. That's gonna get us from there all the way down there where the actual inlet is. But the good news is the water is back on to this point. That valve and that stem is holding. We've got water on back at the house. So we are going to continue on with getting Nana hooked up. Sorry, I thought I hit record again. You can see I got that hooked up. So got the 2-hour clock going and we can test the water pressure on the line. We'll leave the valve inside turned off, the main valve inside turned off. We'll just open up the line down there, make sure there's no leaks coming up to that point there, and then we'll be in a position to be ready to slowly turn the valve on inside and look for leaks. While I'm waiting for this to cure, I'm working on the septic line, which I've actually kind of already started on. I'm not going to show too much of that on the video. It's maybe because it's underneath and it's hard to get at, but the big trick there is just making sure you maintain your slope, which we can go over either in a separate video or towards the end of this one. But this one's hooked up, so we'll flash forward to the test right now. Okay, the water's on. And we had a little bit of leak right there at the MIP connection. This is the thread connection, but gave it a couple turns and it tightened right up for me. And there are no other leaks, none at the valve, none on any of the connecting pipes, and we're going in there. So the next step, we're almost done with hooking up all the drain stuff. We got the black water connections hooked up. Just got to run a pipe for the gray water connection, which we're gonna do, and I'll show you this later. But we're gonna do a valve on the gray water connection, so we can do a drain into the orchard, or we can drain into the septic. But we're gonna hook it up into the septic for now, and then we're gonna go inside the house, see if there's any leaks in the plumbing inside. Pretty exciting, huh? All right, we're gonna get at it. Okay. So we got all the septic hooked up. We've got a nice 1/4 inch drop going from there down to here. At least that's what my level says. So we'll put theory to practice. Show you what we got over here. There's our gray water connection tied into it. We've got that valve on there. So when we want the gray water to go to the septic, we have it shut like that. When we want it to go anywhere else, like to the orchard or a garden or anything, we just turn it and it goes out. So that's good. Now you got the keys.
Yeah,
So now we're gonna go inside and we're gonna slowly turn on the valve, the water valve inside. So all the water valves are still holding outside, or all the connections are still holding, so should be good.
Who's gonna wait outside? Who's gonna go inside?
Well, there's nothing to see outside. At least nothing, there shouldn't be anything outside, not to start. Okay, we'll start by going inside because it's more important to see inside water leaks than outside water leaks. First thing you need to do is make sure that all of the valves are shut, so no faucets are on.
That's good.
Okay.
I'll check the master bathroom.
Yep. This is a big one. So there's nothing on there. Okay.
Off. And then gotta start the shower. Off.
Everything's off?
I think.
Okay.
Now. This stuff off.
What?
This stuff off.
This stuff is off.
Okay.
So where are you going? What does that say?
Main water cut off.
You gonna turn it? Or am I?
Which way?
Yeah. Which way is it? Yep. Pull. No.
Which way?
That's right.
You do it.
Did you try turning something on? Because I don't see any leaks.
Well, let's check under here. I don't see any leaks under there. Yeah. We're running water. See any leaks under there?
Nope.
You sure?
I don't know.
Well, feel.
Where should I?
Well, no, the water line's coming in. Yep, those are the water lines coming in. So the white is the cold. No, the skinny ones. Yep, the white's cold water.
This is hot water?
Well, the hot water should be filling still, so that might be why we have a little low water pressure.
Okay, that one looks good.
All right, so.
How do we check the shower?
Well, let's check the.
Let me taste. Oh, that's big.
The lid is in the sink. Be careful. It's porcelain and it will break if you slam it too hard. Yep.
So that's what makes the sound in there.
That's right.
That's cool.
Let's make sure it's over there.
I gotta pull up.
Yep.
Nice. Can I take does that mean I can take a puppy in the water now?
Well, no, because it's not getting any hot water yet.
Good.
This way, also the hot water tank. Okay. Kind of hard to see with it being dark in here, but
Yeah.
feel around. Are there any drips or leaks? Feel the
No.
water line?
No?
Nothing down there? Okay.
Turn this one on.
Yep.
Turn this one on.
Okay.
cold.
Nothing's wet on the bottom?
No.
Okay.
Cold though. Now
Okay.
the shower.
Oh, no, this
And
is.
it's open.
Good job.
This. Nice. Nice. Okay.
We've got water.
Yay.
Yay. Now let's go check outside and see if it's all draining properly.
Go ahead and flush.
Wait.
I hear water flowing.
Go ahead and do Nana's. Go ahead and flush Nana's. We'll be right there.
And I hear water flowing. Perfect.
Perfect. Good job, kiddo. I call that success. We've got working water, no leaks that we can detect. Everything's good. Can't test the hot water lines yet because no power, no hot water, but we are that much closer and pretty happy. And we've got next week. Power's probably not going to be on until a week after that because I've got to get that utility work done. I'm not going to get to it this weekend, but we've got this one done. Had some awesome help from this one, and I feel very accomplished. Do you feel very accomplished?
Mm-hmm.
All right. So for this time, we'll say, God be with you all in all that you do. And remember, keep the faith.
And keep up the fight.
God bless. Bye.